Ханука – это один из моих любимых праздников. Праздник света, праздник победы, это праздник обновления. И я искренне верю, и в эту Хануку я загадаю, чтобы мы скорее прошли эти трудности.
Возвращаться назад хочется к нашим традициям. То есть, несмотря ни на что, мы празднуем Хануку, мы вспоминаем историю праздника и остаемся вместе.
Обычно у нас в еврейском народе говорят, нас хотели уничтожить, ничего не вышло, да, давайте там выпьем или покушаем. Вот, собственно говоря, это сейчас очень актуально для всех. Для меня Ханука – это семейный уют, тепло, жизнь без ракет и тревог. Это вкусные сладкие пончики, которые мне нельзя, к сожалению. Это что-то про доброе и теплое.
Ханука для меня, ну и не только, я думаю, для меня, это действительно праздник чуда, которое свершилось там. Это праздник света, праздник детей. Для меня, наверное, это праздник мира. Когда-то кто-то пытался повлиять на какие-то события, но выжили, выстояли, защитили свои традиции. И я думаю, что мы это сделаем точно так же.
Hey there, happy Hanukkah. My name is Duff Goldman and I'm a pastry chef, Food Network host, and cookbook author. I'm really honored to be with you tonight as we come together for night one of JDC's A Great Miracle Happened Here, an 8-night event taking you around the world as we celebrate this hopeful and joyous holiday with Jewish communities from Australia to India and beyond. Tonight, we're taking a special look at Ukraine crisis and the unimaginable devastation of the last 10 months. But like the opening video reminded us, there is also hope and inspiration to be found in the brave Jewish communities continuing to build and sustain Jewish life across the country. All of this is especially meaningful to me as my great-grandmother Esther was originally from Halich, which is a town in western Ukraine. Her recipes are really a treasured part of my family's fabric and history. And later tonight, I'm really excited to share one with you. Together, we're gonna make my great-grandmother's Mondo bread. It's really crumbly and kind of cinnamony and nutty and chocolatey, and it's really good. And it's a sweet homage to my family's heritage that you can enjoy with your family this Hanukkah. But before we get there, I want to introduce Mark Sosiski, JDC's president.
Thank you, Duff, for joining us tonight and for sharing your family's story. So many of us feel deeply connected to the Ukrainian Jewish community, whether it's through travel, family roots, or just the genuine human concern and empathy we've all felt since February as we've read the news. At JDC, our roots in Ukraine and the wider region go back more than a century, and we've spent the last 3 decades working to save Jewish lives and build Jewish life. Most recently, supporting tens of thousands of needy Jewish elderly and poor Jewish children prior to the current conflict. It's work that's only become more important since the crisis began, and I feel privileged to call so many brave professionals and volunteers in Ukraine my colleagues. They're the ones making the miracles happen every day for the people who depend on JDC. I want to turn it over now to Natalia from JDC's Chesed Social Welfare Center in Kharkiv, Ukraine, for an inside look at our work and how important this is to help the Jewish people we serve.
Каждый день это нервы, каждый день это очень тяжело выдержать. Но это еще и невозможность обеспечить себя необходимым. Те же самые продукты питания, те же самые медикаменты. Chesed и Joint являются очень важными организациями для Харькова, для всех городов Украины, потому что это огромная помощь. Это помощь тем, кто социально не защищен. И магазины были закрыты, и аптеки были закрыты. Люди не могли, даже те, кто отваживался выйти на улицу, люди не могли приобрести себе это. В Хеседе была возможность, благодаря поддержке джойнта, людям это предоставить. У нас были водители, у нас были продуктовые наборы, у нас были медикаменты. И когда мы привозили им свою помощь, нам очень многие говорили, что мы – это единственное их спасение, что больше помощи они не дожидаются ниоткуда. Джойнт – это надежда. Не безосновательная, не пустая надежда. Джойнт – это поддержка, это реальная поддержка каждого из наших клиентов. Для меня герои нашего времени – это те, кто приходит сюда каждый день для того, чтобы оказать помощь другим. Зачастую это связано с риском для жизни. Это люди, которые меня окружают. Вот это герои нашего времени.
Wow, what an incredible video. Thank you for all your work, Natalia. Now, I think it's time to make some cookies. You guys ready for Mondo bread? Me too. All right, first thing we're gonna do is I'm gonna get, this is some shortening, I'm not using butter. Okay, now I'm gonna add the sugar, and I have lemon zest. Now, the recipe calls for orange zest, but one of the things about my great-grandmother that I thought was so interesting was that a lot of her cooking was kind of Sephardic. There were just weird flavors in there that you weren't really expecting from, somebody from a farm in Ukraine. All these flavors are a little bit more Middle Eastern. So I'm going to do lemon, and instead of almonds, I'm going to do pistachios. So there's the lemons. That smells good. Okay, and now I'm going to cream this together. So that's just turning on the mixer and beating it until it's smooth. Okay, now that that's nice and smooth, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a scrape. Just get all of that stuff from the side of the mixer. Get it back down in the bowl, and you'll notice it's really soft now. Really soft and really spreadable. Okay, next, I'm going to combine my eggs, my vanilla, because this is all the liquid that's going to go in the recipe. Okay, now I'm going to show you a really cool trick. Take a piece of paper like this. Now I want my potato starch and my flour. Now I'm going to take a strainer and I'm going to sift the flour onto parchment paper. So this does a couple things. One, it aerates the flour. Two, it gets all the lumps out so it mixes in a lot easier. Okay, so now I got all the flour, and now I'm going to use the potato starch. Very Ukrainian ingredient to use, especially in baking. All right, so now those are all sifted together. I'll add the cinnamon too. Now you see it's all on this piece of paper. What we do is fold it like an envelope, and then you turn it on. No mess. Okay, now I'll add the eggs and the vanilla. Now I'm going to add the almond flour. Okay, that's the basic dough, but now we're going to add a little stuff to it. It's going to be fun. Okay, so here I have some pistachios. So I'm going to just turn these out on my cutting board. And then I'm going to just gently give these a rough chop. They don't have to be tiny. That looks pretty good. Now, add these nuts. And I'm going to get all this pistachio flour too, because that's the flavor. It'll get dispersed throughout the dough. It really tastes good. Give this a quick what's up? Okay, now pull this off of the mixer and we'll finish it by hand. Let's add the chocolate chips. I really remember those times when I was really young. It's really the only memories I have of my great-grandmother are cooking with her. Or just, I was in the kitchen while she was cooking. I was very, very young. Look at that. But those memories, they really stick with you. And, I want that for my daughter. I want her to, cook and bake and learn about sort of who we are, as a family, as a people, learn our history through the food that we're going to make. We have a lot of my great-grandmother's recipes. Thankfully, she wrote them down. What's funny is she wrote phonetically, she wrote with a Russian accent. So we've had to kind of translate all her recipes because they're written phonetically the way that she talked. It's pretty funny. We've had to make a couple of guesses. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just cutting this in half. Right, so here's our dough. All right, so I got a sheet tray here. What I'm going to do is form like a log, just like this. Crumbly. Mondo bread's supposed to be crumbly, so you're looking at the dough, it looks like it's kind of falling apart. That's okay, that's the texture you want. That's why we put the potato starch in there. Okay. Number one. And number two. Okay, so now what I want to do is make sure these are pretty even. And then we'll just kind of flatten them out a little bit, just like that. Okay, now you want to preheat your oven to 350 degrees. And set a timer for about a half an hour. They might take up to 40 minutes, but set it for, half hour. Here we go. See you in 40 minutes. All right, so the logs have baked and they've been out of the oven and they're still a little bit warm, but they're, cool enough that I can touch them and handle them. So now what I'm gonna do is slice these cookies into their individual shapes. I'm using a serrated knife here. All right, now I'm gonna take these and we're just gonna dip them in cinnamon sugar, just like that. Okay, so now these cookies are gonna go back in the oven, 10 minutes per side, and then we'll see how they come out. All right, it's been about 10 minutes, so let's flip those cookies. All right, 10 more minutes. It smells good in here. I think those cookies are done. Let's check it out. You can smell the chocolate, the toasted nuts, the cinnamon is really nice, but also just that toastiness. Now, Mondo bread, it is delicious right out of the oven, but you do want to let this cool down. Give me, oh boy, look at those. Look at those cookies. Does that look good? You want to hold one? Is it good? It is good. Happy Hanukkah! Hi! Hi! Now I'd like to turn it over to JDC's CEO, Ariel Zwang.
Thanks, Duff. As Duff mentioned, I'm Ariel Zwang, and I'm the CEO of JDC, or The Joint, as many around the world know us. We're the world's leading Jewish humanitarian organization, working for more than a century to save Jewish lives and build Jewish life. Today, we operate in 70 countries, working to do just that. I'm here to share with you tonight not just the tragedy of what's happening in Ukraine and among those who have fled to neighboring countries, but also to offer a glimmer of hope, some light in the darkness on a holiday that feels perfectly suited to discuss just that. Many of us, including Duff and also myself, have roots in the vibrant and long-standing Jewish community of Ukraine. These Jews stubbornly and bravely survived pogroms, the Nazis, the Soviets, the early years of the turbulent post-communist 1990s, and more. And with the help of JDC and other organizations, they've built strong, thriving Jewish communities, which before the crisis included over 200,000 Jews. Unfortunately, since February, these Jews and their neighbors have faced an unimaginable reality. But thankfully, since day one, they have not been alone. They've had us by their side the whole time. In the last 10 months, we've provided more than 40,000 refugees with vital necessities like food, medicine, and psychosocial aid. We've cared for 35,000 Jews still living in Ukraine. We've fielded more than 67,000 calls on our emergency hotlines. We've evacuated over 13,000 refugees from Ukraine, and we've delivered over 1.3 million pounds of humanitarian aid to Jews in Ukraine and refugees in Moldova. Now, as we enter the harsh winter months, our focus has expanded. We're providing winter survival tools for more than 22,000 people in Ukraine, everything from portable heaters and cooking stoves to rechargeable flashlights, non-perishable foods, and sleeping bags that can withstand sub-zero temperatures. This is all on top of what we do every winter, distributing blankets, wood, coal, and subsidies to make sure people can pay their utility bills. For all of us at JDC, this is holy work, and we're privileged to do it. Thank you for letting me share just a little bit about who we are and why we're so proud to support Jews in Ukraine with the help of many of you and our stalwart partners this Hanukkah and every day. And now, in a special tribute to the community's rich and inspiring cultural history, I'm pleased to introduce Julie Benko, one of the stars of Funny Girl on Broadway, as she performs a traditional Yiddish song that I'm sure will move you as it moves me.
Thank you so much. It is so special for me to be here tonight. We are excited to celebrate Hanukkah in our new home, and I am excited to put my Yiddish skills to use. I began studying Yiddish on Duolingo during the pandemic as a way to reconnect with my heritage. My great-grandparents spoke Yiddish. My grandmother grew up speaking Yiddish as her first language, and I am actually nearing my 800th day of my Duolingo streak. I even did it on our wedding day. So I'm finally getting to put that to use on a song. This is Tumbalalaika, which is a traditional Yiddish folk song. It is about a young boy who comes up with a riddle to find the cleverest girl in the village to marry. Tum means noise, and balalaika is this instrument here that Richard is going to play. Richard Stillman will be accompanying us on the balalaika, and this is Jason Yeager, my spouse. This is Tumbalalaika. We hope you enjoy it, and we hope you have a very happy Hanukkah. Steht der Bucher, steht und tracht, tracht und tracht die ganze Nacht. Wem sie nehmen und nicht verschämen, wem sie nehmen und nicht verschämen. Once long ago there was a young man who stayed up all night devising his plan. He thought up a riddle second to none. She who could answer would be the one. Tumbala, tumbala, tumbala-laika, tumbala, tumbala, tumbala-laika, tumbala.
freilich soll sein. Mädel, Mädel, ich will bei dir fragen, was kann wachsen und regen, was kann brennen und nicht aufhören, was kann bänken, weinen und reden. Tell me, my pretty one, tell me if you know what needs no rain and yet it can grow. Tell me what can burn all through the years. Tell me what can yearn and cry without tears. Tumbala, tumbala, tumbalalaika, tumbala, tumbala, tumbalalaika, tumbalalaika, spiel balalaika, tumbalalaika, freilich soll sein. Narische Bocher, was darfst du fragen? A Stein kann wachsen und regen. Liebe kann brennen und nicht aufhören. A Herz kann bänken, weinen und reden. Oh, foolish boy, surely you know a rock needs no rain, and yet it can grow. It's love that can burn all through the years, and a heart that is yearning cries without tears. Tumbala, tumbala, tumbalalaika, tumbala, tumbala, tumbalalaika, tumbalalaika, spiel balalaika, tumbalalaika, freilich soll sein. Tumbala, tumbala, tumbalalaika, tumbala, tumbala, tumbalalaika, tumbalalaika, spiel balalaika, tumbalalaika, freilich soll sein. Tumbalalaika, freilich soll sein. Tumbalalaika, freilich soll sein.
Wow, that was just beautiful, Julie. Thank you. As we wrap up our show for the evening, I want to thank you for joining us for night one of A Great Miracle Happened Here, and remind you that the celebration doesn't need to end here. Be sure to tune in for the next 7 nights as we light candles and hear from Jewish communities in Australia, Moldova, Romania, Israel, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Argentina, and India. Head to hanukkah.jdc.org to learn more. And before we go, Rabbi David Wolpe, the senior rabbi of Sinai Temple in Los Angeles, is here to share a few words of inspiration, leading us into tonight's very special candle lighting, featuring 4 incredible Jewish women from all across Ukraine. Thanks again. Have a wonderful Hanukkah.
I'd like to share with you a well-known question in Jewish legal circles about the holiday of Hanukkah and offer an answer that gives us an insight into what the JDC does around the world. The question is this: if there was enough oil to last for one night, and we light 8 candles because of 8 nights of a miracle, then we're making some kind of mistake, because the first night wasn't a miracle. There was enough oil for the first night. So why don't we light 7 candles, since there were only 7 nights of a miracle and 1 night of oil? And I think that the answer, at least the most convincing answer, is that the first night was in some ways the greatest miracle. Because after the destruction and the war and the hatred and so on, the Jewish people still wanted to light that first candle. It tells us that miracles are part of a partnership between God and human beings. The same thing is true, when we say the blessing over the bread. We say, Hamotzi lechem min haaretz, God who brings bread forth from the earth. But of course, God doesn't bring bread forth from the earth. God brings wheat forth from the earth, and we make it into bread. But this sense of partnership is how we make miracles. One Hasidic rabbi said that we are God's hands in this world. And so when the JDC goes into places war-torn like Ukraine, or bereft and forgotten like places in Russia and other places in Eastern Europe or Latin America, where Jews are alone and they're scared and they're hungry, we make miracles. But not because we do it alone, but because we do it with the Spirit of God and Jewish history as our partner. It's something that in this time of darkness, and we live in a time of many darknesses, we should remember as we light the Shabbat candles and as we redouble our efforts to help the JDC bring light around the world. All 8 nights are a miracle, and the first miracle starts with us.
Здравствуйте. Как вы знаете, сейчас в Украине очень тяжелые времена, но несмотря на это, мы сегодня собрались здесь вместе, чтобы зажечь ханукальные свечи. Меня зовут Лера, я из еврейской общины Николаева.
Меня зовут Анна, я из еврейской общины города Харькова.
Я Стелла из Одесского Гилеля.
Я Александра из Львовского Хеседа.
Несмотря на то, что происходит сегодня с нами, мы вынуждены перестроиться на новые принципы работы. Мои ребята из Николаева разбросаны сейчас по всей Украине, по всему миру, и я вынуждена работать с ними онлайн и проводить для них занятия онлайн.
Я доставляю, пакую, раздаю гуманитарную помощь людям, которые в этом остро нуждаются, и не могут выйти на улицу и сами себя обеспечить.
Мы продолжаем фасовать продуктовые наборы для пожилых подопечных.
Я круглосуточно отвечаю на звонки горячей линии для того, чтобы люди знали, где они сегодня будут спать и где им кушать.
Несмотря на то, что происходит сегодня с нами, мы понимаем, что мы стали только сильнее. И поэтому ханукальный свет для нас – это община.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו להדליק נר חנוכה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעושה ניסים לאבותינו בימים ההם בזמן הזה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהחיינו והקימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה.
От всех еврейских общин Украины счастливой Хануки!
Ma'otzor Yeshuati L'chanae L'shabeach Tikun Beit Tefilati V'sham Toda Nizabeach Li'etachin Matbeach Mitzor Hamnabeach Azigmor Bashir Mizmor Chanukah Hamizbeach Azigmor Bashir Mizmor